Hello, because of the recent release of Help Wanted 2, I thought why not make a video about it, but I want to beat the entire game before I give my full thoughts on it. That's why I'm making a video about the first one. I'm continuing my series of what made FNAF so scary and not scary. This time we will be talking about FNAF VR Help Wanted. Like and subscribe and enjoy. I have to address the elephant in the room, the main thing that made FNAF VR so terrifying. And that has to be, well, the VR. If you have ever played this game in VR, you know just how terrifying seeing the animatronics right outside of your doors is. You know the dread you feel staring into the giant hole in front of you. I feel like it's really hard to explain with words. You really have to experience it for yourself. Playing in the flat mode, the mode that doesn't require a VR headset, the game is much less scary. You don't have the feeling of seeing a giant animatronic bunny right in front of you. It's just different in VR. VR makes you feel like you are truly there. And I feel like that really enhances the horror of FNAF. If you think about it, FNAF is perfect for VR. In FNAF, you sit in one room defending yourself, and VR works best when there is not a lot of movement involved. And that's why a lot of VR games use teleportation, like Help Wanted 2 for example. I feel like the feeling you get when playing the game in VR for the first time is something impossible to recreate on a regular screen. Help Wanted was the reason I got my first ever VR headset, that being the PlayStation VR. And it was worth it, even if I was absolutely terrified of the game. You're unable to look away in VR, you're surrounded by the game in every direction, there is a constant feeling of dread. VR is the biggest reason this game was scary in my opinion. I feel like the horror of the game itself and the fact that it's in VR go hand in hand in making a thrilling horror game. I also quickly want to touch on the jump scares. Wow, none of these jump scares are super unique. There's a couple jump scares that reference their older counterparts, like Freddy, Chica, and Puppet for example, and I think that's pretty neat. However, getting jump scared in VR, it's just something else. Seeing this giant animatronic out of nowhere jump out at you, paired up with a loud scream, it's terrifying. The Funtime Freddy and Enard jump scares always especially got me. Again, the fact that it's in VR and it feels like it's actually happening right in front of you makes the overall jump scare much scarier. Now, I want to move on and talk about the actual horror in the game. However, keep in mind that I feel like the VR affects and improves the horror of everything I am about to talk about. The atmosphere in this game is really good. Like for example, in the main menu, the area around you is pretty creepy. It's very dark with creepy sounds. Although it is a familiar spot, that being the FNAF 1 pizzeria, it feels a little bit unknown due to the differences. The atmosphere fits the game. I feel like this main menu prepares you for the even creepier atmospheres of some of the levels. Even though nothing much happens here, it still feels unnerving, and you can still tell that you are playing a horror game. Oh, and how could I forget? Glitch Trap. When you collect tapes, this jolly rabbit guy appears, and he gets closer every tape that you get. I feel like he really makes the main menu creepier, because it shows that this game is more than just a FNAF minigame collection. It shows the player that there are secrets to be discovered, and that they shouldn't feel too safe even outside of the minigames. Glitch Trap's design is oddly creepy. He looks like a suit, not an animatronic, and he has this creepy grin. Also, the way he looks at you is just creepy. It feels like he is staring at you, the player playing the game, in your VR headset, and not the character in the game. That may sound dumb, but I feel like it fits, because this thing wants to get into your head, and because canonically you are a playtester that's playing the game. So I feel like it will make sense that Glitch Trap is technically looking at the player playing the game, because he's trying to possess them. His just creepy stare, it feels like he's staring right into your soul. Overall, the main menu alone has a good atmosphere, and I feel like it does a good job of setting up how the rest of the game is going to feel. I feel like the title screen is also really creepy. All of these animatronics towering over you in this dark and creepy room. I remember it giving me the chills. I won't be able to talk about every minigame. That would take way too long and I am far too lazy. Just look at my upload schedule. so I will go over some noteworthy things to talk about. The FNAF 1 minigames are really creepy. Steel Wool did a fantastic job at capturing the feeling of dread you got when you played the original. Seeing these big openings on both sides of your office, knowing that eventually something is gonna try to get in, was really unnerving. And when you actually see the animatronics walking down the hall and looking into your office, it's really unsettling. The doors provide you with a big sense of security. You know that nothing is able to get in through them. However, when they are open, that sense of security is lost, and you are left looking out into the darkness, trying to prepare your next move. The player feels very vulnerable because something can just sneak in. I think that not being able to see both of the doorways at once also plays a big role, because something might sneak up at any moment, and you might miss it. Every time I played this game, I really frantically look between both doorways, because I'm just so afraid that something snuck in while I was looking at the other one. Bunny and Chica look really creepy when they are outside your doors, and the loud banging sound that Foxy makes when you stop him using the door is shockingly violent. I think this game mode has especially succeeded in making a good atmosphere, and overall making a very scary game mode that always keeps the player on their toes. Also want to talk about the FNAF 2 minigames. Wow, even though these large vents look a bit goofy, I mean, why are they so big? But checking the lights and seeing an animatronic in the vents, paired up with the loud sound that's played when you spot one, it's always like a mini jump scare for me. Suddenly seeing this big robot trying to get into your office is really creepy. And quickly putting on your mask, then having to stare at the animatronic in your room, hoping you were fast enough, just waiting to see if you will get a jump scare or not. I feel like it's really scary. Every encounter with an animatronic is creepy, and seeing this big hallway in front of you, it's creepy seeing something slowly approaching. And when you look at it without the light on, you are just staring at this big empty pit of darkness, not knowing what's right in front of you. I feel like the FNAF 2 game mode also does horror really well. Another game mode worth mentioning is the parts and service game mode. Pressing the continue button, having the game load, and then being met with a giant animatronic centimeters away from you, and then having to look away from the big animatronic and having to perform repairs on them, it's really creepy. But in a different way compared to the FNAF 1 and 2 game modes. You are always worrying that you are doing something wrong, and the animatronic in front of you is not gonna appreciate that and, well, snap. Honestly, just seeing these animatronics in front of you, knowing that any wrong move, or even taking too long will lead to a jump scare, it's just really tense and scary. You're always on edge while playing these levels. However, now, I wanna talk about the one, the only, Vent Repair. Oh boy, Vent Repair is the scariest game mode for many people. Me personally, I don't know if it's the scariest because, well, honestly I haven't really made up my mind yet. However, yes, Vent Repair is absolutely terrifying. Seeing these 3 vents and this bright light, you might think it's gonna be easy, but no, the light turns off and you're left staring at this long dark vent, and then more of them open up. All you have is a small headlamp which lights up the thing in front of you. Seeing that Mango has been crawling towards you while you weren't looking, it's terrifying. The levels make you feel a little claustrophobic due to the size of your elevator and the vents. I always frantically look between all of the vents, hoping that I don't get jump scared. And it's extra terrifying when you have to focus on one single vent, because you need to repair something there, because that means that the other vents are left unattended. Something can sneak up on you at any time. The Enard level changes things up a bit. Now you have to go further down and complete more tasks, trying to locate where the wires are going. Meanwhile the room flashes, Enard getting closer and closer. I find it terrifying. You never truly know how much time you have left before he jump scares you. It makes the player panic and speed up, which unfortunately may lead to mistakes being made. Also, the small jump scare he does when the vent door is closing is very startling. The way Enard stalks you while you try to do the gear puzzle, it's also very creepy. I don't think the boiler room puzzles are that scary, however I think the vent repair as a whole is really creepy. It takes advantage of VR really well. You have to physically lean in and reach for things inside the vent, and I think that all adds up to making this very scary. You're constantly worrying about if something is sneaking up on you through another vent. The night terror levels are also creepy. Walking around the FNAF 4 bedroom and having to physically close the door and lean out in order to see what is outside the hall, I think it's really creepy. I don't know, man. Just darkness in VR is very scary. You never know when to expect the jump scare. You don't know what's hiding inside the darkness. There's a bit of the fear of the unknown. You don't know what's lurking there when you play the game for the first time. You never know what to expect. And yeah, dark houses are creepy. You never know when to expect a jump scare, and that makes them really surprising. I don't have much more to say about the night terrors other than I think that they are all scary. I don't think the endings in FNAF VR Help Wanted are that scary, honestly, but I do think that the one where Glitch Trap locks you in is pretty creepy, especially when you take in his creepy design. Overall, what I think made FNAF Help Wanted so scary is the VR, the creepy atmospheres, loud jump scares, good sound design, and how the levels are set up. Like for example, when the player is really close to certain threats, like for example seeing Bonnie right outside of your door, seeing Mango slowly approaching, and seeing Enard looking at you. The levels are set up so that the player constantly can see their threats, and I feel like that creates panic. I think that this game is a very well constructed horror game, and it does what it sets out to do really well. What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. This was GameSpeaking, and goodbye.